Welcome to Dark Tales TV, where real stories don't just haunt your thoughts, they crawl inside your soul. Before we begin tonight's nightmare, tell me, where are you watching from? The shadows of eyes everywhere, and I want to know where they're reaching tonight. And hey, if you haven't already, like this video and subscribe, because there are stories coming you don't want to face alone. Story 1. It was spring break, 2018. 6 college kids, 2 Jeeps, and 1 destination. Breakwater Beach, a hidden stretch of Florida coastline known mostly to locals and thrill seekers. You won't find it in brochures. That's because locals don't talk about it. Lena, Marco, Casey, Dre, Joanna, and Spence were ready for a week of sun, booze, and no responsibilities. Dre found Breakwater on Reddit. A deleted thread. No hotels, no lifeguards, just dunes, trees, and an abandoned beach house from the 1950s. They arrived by sunset. The wind was wrong, too strong, too warm, and the sand looked gray, almost ashy, like something had been burned long ago. The beach house stood crooked, caved-in roof, windows bordered with rusted nails, and one word scratched into the door in something brown. They thought it was a joke. They would regret that for the rest of their lives. That night, they drank until the stars blurred. Joanna and Spence hooked up in the Jeep. Marco built a fire. Lena wandered alone toward the dunes. She came back pale. "There's something buried out there," she whispered. "What, like a crab trap?" Casey laughed. Lena shook her head. "It's big. Like human big." Drunk curiosity is dangerous. They brought shovels and phones with flashlights, walked into the dunes, found the spot. The sand felt heavier. They dug, 1 foot down a shoe, 2 feet a jawbone, 3 feet a full skeleton, curled fetal, arms broken at unnatural angles, wrapped in rotted fishing net. Casey vomited. Dre took a photo. Joanna screamed as she realized there were more. Dozens of soft mounds, all graves, and above them, stuck in a rotting wooden post, a wet, glistening mask made of stitched human skin. And behind them, a shadow, standing on the roof of the beach house. At dawn, they ran, but the Jeeps wouldn't start, not even a click. Every phone battery, dead. Even the analog watch on Marco's wrist, stuck at 3:13 a.m. That was the time Lena said she heard the whisper in her ear. Dig deeper. They tried the trails. Nothing but sand dunes, ocean, like the road, and had vanished. Lena, already trembling, turned to them and said, "I dreamed I was buried alive. But I wasn't alone. I was surrounded by people screaming inside the dirt." Then Dre looked at his camera. The photos from last night, they were all black, except one. A shot of the dune where they found the body. In the background, a woman with no eyes, her jaw dislocated, crawling behind Lena. They stayed in the beach house. Big mistake. The floorboards were damp. The walls dripped. Casey swore the house was breathing. At 1:40 a.m., Spence tried to leave again. The moment he stepped outside, he screamed. They found him on the porch, shaking. "I walked down the path," he stammered. "But it never ended. The same tree, the same rock, over and over. Then I saw the graves. All of us. Our names carved in driftwood crosses." That's when the lights began. Out in the dunes, blue-green glows like underwater lamps. Lena said, "Those aren't lights. Those are eyes." At 3:13 a.m., they heard digging, not from outside, from beneath the house. Joanna, panicked, tried to escape through a window. Something grabbed her, pulled her out. Her scream cut off instantly, like someone had hit mute. They ran after her, just footprints in the sand. The wind howled, and then her face appeared, sticking out of the sand mouth wide, like she'd been buried upright, but only her face. The rest swallowed. Marco ran to her, but her eyes moved. She was still alive. Then she was dragged under. The sand closed like water. Dre said it then. This place isn't haunted. It's alive, and it doesn't want us here. It wants to make us part of it. Lena nodded. I think it already has. Casey was staring at her. What's on your neck? Lena turned. Her neck was branded. A black scar in the shape of a spiral. She didn't know how it got there. They locked themselves in the attic. Spence wouldn't stop muttering, scratching words into the wooden floor. Returned, returned, returned. Casey broke down. I don't want to die here. Then the attic floor opened, like a mouth, and Dre fell through. Gone. No scream. No sound. Nothing but splintered wood and silence. By morning, the road was back. No sign of Dre, or Joanna, or the graves. Just sea breeze, birds, and calm waves. The jeeps worked again. They left. No one spoke the whole 6-hour drive home. Marco and Lena never talked again. Casey dropped out of school. Spence disappeared 3 weeks later. But 2 months later, Lena got a package. No return address. Inside, a jar of sand. And Dre's phone. Only one video on it. Dated 3:13 a.m. The video showed Dre, alone, crawling through a tunnel of sand, screaming until his jaw snapped open, blood pouring. And then the last frame, a woman covered in fishing net, wearing a mask made of Joanna's skin. Are you still there? If you're watching this alone, do me a favor. Don't look behind you. Because sometimes places aren't just haunted. They're hungry. And every year, spring breakers feed them. If you found this disturbing, and I know you did, hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Story 2. In March of 2022, 6 friends from Santa Fe drove out to Sunset Ridge, an isolated plateau on the edge of the Navajo Nation, bordering Arizona. They weren't thrill seekers or ghost hunters. Just 6 college seniors trying to camp one last time before graduation. Their names were Leo, Marina, Jay, Kyle, Lena, and Vince. They chose Sunset Ridge for its open sky, no light pollution, and a perfect view of the Milky Way. They brought tents, a telescope, and 3 days' worth of supplies. The land, however, had a reputation. Locals warned them, don't camp up there. The land doesn't like visitors. But they laughed it off, thought it was just superstition, until the howling started, and something wearing Kyle's face came crawling into camp. The sun had barely set when strange things began. The fire kept dying, even though they used dry wood and fuel. Leo's compass spun in slow, lazy circles. Jay said the stars looked wrong, like a piece of sky was missing. Around 2 a.m., Vince saw a silhouette watching them from the tree line. Tall, gaunt, still, probably a deer, he muttered. Then it moved, on 2 legs. It didn't blink, and when Leo shined a flashlight toward it, it was gone. Later, Kyle wandered off to pee behind a boulder. He didn't come back. They found him 5 minutes later. Or rather, something that looked like Kyle. Kyle stood frozen at the edge of camp, staring, not blinking. Lena said, "You okay?" He smiled too wide. "I saw the stars move," he said flatly. "They're not real." Leo laughed. "Dude, you high?" Then Kyle said it again. Same words, same tone. I saw the stars move. They're not real. His eyes didn't move. His breathing didn't change. Like he was imitating how a person should be. Marina grabbed his arm. It was ice cold. Suddenly, Kyle screamed. Not the one in camp. The real Kyle from deep in the woods. They turned to look. When they looked back, the thing was gone. Marina had grown up in northern New Mexico. Her grandmother used to warn her, if you see yourself at night, run. That's not you. That's them. Skinwalkers were your shape to fool your friends, to enter your dreams. She didn't believe it. Not really. But now, Kyle was back, shaking, bleeding from his foot. He said something had chased him, something that moved like a wolf, but stood like a man. They whispered to me, he said I'm already dead, said they're taking turns wearing us. That night, they slept in shifts. Leo woke to the sound of whispering. When he looked over, Jay was sitting up, staring at the fire, whispering to himself in a voice Leo had never heard before. Deep, growling. Wrong. Jay stood up and walked into the dark. Leo followed. Big mistake. Jay turned to him in the moonlight. His face looked twisted, like it was being held together by something beneath the skin. He opened his mouth, and a dozen voices came out at once. Leo, come with me. We want your voice next. Leo ran back to camp, screaming. Everyone woke up. Jay was there, confused, asleep in his bag. What the hell, man? He asked. Leo looked back into the woods. No one was there, but someone had carved symbols into the trees. Symbols Jay couldn't have known. By day, they tried to find a way down, but their GPS was broken. Their compass still spun. Even the sun seemed to rise and set too fast, like time was twisted. At night, the voices got louder. Sometimes, they'd hear one of them calling from the forest, but it was never really them. Once, Marina saw herself standing just beyond the firelight, naked, pale, bleeding from the mouth. The copy of her just smiled and whispered, "You left the door open, Marina. Now we all can come in." Then it crawled away backward into the dark. On the third day, they found an old stone circle, half buried in the dust, burned bones inside. A child's shoe. Leo knelt to touch it. He heard screaming in his head, a voice whispering in a dead language. They left it alone. That night, the boy appeared, charred, hairless, empty sockets. He stood by Lena's tent silent, then burst into flames without making a sound. Lena screamed and collapsed. In her dream, she saw all of them chained in a cave, wearing animal skins, bleeding from their eyes, the real versions of themselves, already taken. Vince had enough. He wanted to run at dawn, but Marina said, "They won't let us all leave. One has to stay. That's the rule." Her grandmother's stories all said the same thing. You want to survive a skinwalker's land? Leave one behind. Let them wear the skin. The others thought she was joking, until Leo went missing. Then Jay. Then Lena. They turned on each other. Panic. Accusations. Marina and Kyle ran. No food. No water. Just pure instinct. For hours they climbed down Sunset Ridge, until, somehow, they reached a ranger station. They were delirious, starving, sunburnt. They told the rangers what happened. The rangers went up to investigate. There was no camp, no evidence anyone had ever been there. Just a single photo in Kyle's phone, taken accidentally it seemed. In it, all 6 friends were standing near the fire, except there were 7 figures. The 7th one was wearing Leo's face, but standing too tall, its mouth gaping open, as if something had climbed into the picture. They say skinwalkers don't take your life. They take your story, your voice, your body, your friends. If you hear yourself whispering from the trees, don't answer. And whatever you do, don't camp at Sunset Ridge. Would you sacrifice a friend to survive? Welcome back to Dark Tales TV, where real horror doesn't hide under your bed. It waits in the walls. Story 3. In the spring of 2019, 4 roommates from Oregon State University booked a last-minute cabin near Devil's Root Lake, Montana. They wanted something quiet, cheap, and off the grid. Spring break had become more about escape than partying. Chloe, Yara, Ben, and Miles found an old listing through a private owner. A small resort, once abandoned, now partially restored. 6 cabins total. They were told not to worry about the broken signage or lack of self-service. It's all part of the charm. They were assigned cabin 6. The owner never met them, just left the key in a rusted box nailed to a pine tree. The moment they stepped inside, Chloe said the air felt wrong, like the oxygen was too thick. Yara swore she heard someone whisper her name from the empty kitchen. And Ben noticed the windows had no reflections, not even from the lamps inside. They should have left that first night, but the snow trapped them in, and cabin 6 began to speak. It started on the second night. At 2:04 a.m., Yara woke up crying. She didn't know why. She said she dreamed of drowning, but she was watching herself drown. From inside a mirror, Ben went to pee. Came back pale. There's someone humming in the bathroom wall. Miles checked. Nothing, until they turned off the lights. Then they heard it. A child's voice humming a lullaby they didn't recognize. Notes bent wrong like a warped music box. Chloe grabbed her phone. The screen turned on by itself. The voice recorder app opened. It played a clip. Someone whispering, "You shouldn't have come here." They hadn't recorded anything. The next morning, snow had buried their car. The trail back to the main road, gone. Nothing but white. Ben tried calling for help. No bars. The landline in the main office, dead tone. They split up to search the area. That's when Miles saw something that made his stomach lurch. Cabin 6 didn't cast a shadow. The other cabins did, but not theirs. When he told the group, Chloe pulled out her DSLR and snapped a photo. Later that night, she checked the image. Cabin 6 was missing, just a blank spot where it should have been, as if the camera refused to capture it. That night, Yara refused to sleep. She sat cross-legged in the living room, staring at the fireplace. "It's in the mirrors," she whispered. "It watches through them." At exactly 2:04 a.m., the humming returned, stronger, and something else. Footsteps. From the attic above them, bare feet pacing. They didn't even know the cabin had an attic. Miles grabbed a broomstick and tapped the ceiling. A tap came back. Twice. Then something scratched down the wall behind them from the attic to the floor. They bolted into the bathroom to hide. That's when Ben screamed. He was staring into the mirror. Behind their reflection stood a child, gray, eyeless, its mouth sewn shut. Then it smiled. Ben smashed the mirror. The humming stopped. They decided to look for the attic door. Instead, Miles found a hatch under the cabin rug. A crawl space. Yara refused to go near it, but Chloe did. She crawled inside and came back up with a wooden box, sealed in wax. Inside, a black leather book, handwritten, moldy. It was a journal belonging to someone named Lillian Boone, a 12-year-old girl who lived in Cabin 6 with her parents in 1952. Her entries were disturbing. Mother says don't hum at night, but the cabin hums back now. Father nailed the mirror shut, but I still see things in the glass. The boy in the wall sings. He's lonely. He says I should stay forever. Her last entry, smeared in brown. I'm in the walls now. They sew my mouth, but I still hum. After that, everything decayed fast. The walls began bleeding sap. Black, sticky, the humming never stopped. At 2:04 a.m. sharp, every night, the same sequence. Humming, footsteps, 3 taps, a whisper from every corner. Stay with us. They tried to burn the cabin. The match wouldn't light. Miles tried smashing a window. His arm froze mid-swing, like something was controlling his joints. Yara cried in the corner, her nose bleeding. Ben looked into the cracked bathroom mirror again. This time, he saw his own corpse hanging from the ceiling. He passed out. At 4:13 a.m., Chloe realized something. The journal. There was one last page, folded deep into the back. It read, "To leave Cabin 6, you must become 7. They were 4 now, 1 missing. But Chloe remembered something chilling. When they arrived, the owner had said the cabin was made for 5 guests. Not 4, not 6. The 5th had never left. And to break the curse, another must take her place. Yara knew it. She walked to the crawl space and said, "I hear her voice now. She want me to stay." They tried to stop her, but she was already gone. At sunrise, the snow melted. The door opened. The trail was visible again. Ben, Chloe, and Miles ran until they found a ranger outpost. The ranger said, "Cabin 6? He blinked. That one burned down in 1953. Whole family inside. No one rebuilt it. Chloe showed him the DSLR. The image had changed. Cabin 6 was there now, but Yara was in the window, smiling. That night, Chloe had a nightmare. In it, Yara whispered, "Thank you. You let me sing again." And now you know, some cabins aren't just haunted. They're waiting. And if you ever hear humming in the walls at 2:04 a.m., don't listen. Because once you do, you might be the next voice in Cabin 6. If you made it through this horror, hit that like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments, would you ever spend a night in a cabin without mirrors? Before we dive in, I've got a question for you. Where in the world are you watching from right now? Drop your location in the comments, because what I'm about to tell you is not fiction. It's real, and it's not just scary. It's so deep disturbing. Story 4. They should have never exited the highway. It was the second night of spring break when Jared, Amanda, Tyler, and Bree made a mistake. They were driving from Tallahassee to Miami Beach. Jared was the driver, Amanda his sarcastic girlfriend, Bree the TikTok-obsessed party girl, and Tyler. Well, Tyler didn't talk much, just filmed everything with that vintage camcorder his grandpa gave him. They left late, around 9:30 p.m. The goal was to drive all night, sleep when they got there. But about halfway down the state, Jared started nodding off. "We gotta stop somewhere," he muttered, rubbing his eyes. "No way," Bree snapped. "We stop, we miss the sunrise." "Better miss a sunrise and drive into a tree," Amanda said. That's when they saw it. A glowing, old-style neon sign off the road. Whispering Pines Motel vacancy. The sign flickered. Half dead, letters blinking like they were gasping. But there it was, a small driveway leading off into the trees. Jared turned the wheel. No one argued. They pulled in. The place was wrong. A long row of one-story rooms, each with green wooden doors and identical white curtains, sat crookedly beneath tall black pine trees that seemed to lean over the building like watchers. There was no front office, just a small night window with a cracked sliding glass panel and a tarnished service bell. Bree rang it. Nothing. Then the lights inside the office flicked on. Even though no one touched them, a woman emerged. She had long gray hair, oily and thin like spider silk, and skin so pale it looked powdered. She wore a dusty blue housecoat and had a smile that never touched her eyes. "You'll want room 7, she said before anyone spoke. "How'd you—" Amanda started, but the woman slid the key through the slot. It was cold in Amanda's hand. Not just cold, freezing. "Cash only," the woman said. $1.40. No pets, no loud music, and don't open the door for anyone after midnight. "Why?" Tyler asked, lifting his camera. "Because nothing good comes knocking at that hour," she whispered. They all laughed nervously. Tyler filmed her until Jared nudged him. They drove down to room 7. That night, the air was humid. The room smelled like mold and bleach. The wallpaper peeled in long curls, and the mattress was too soft, like something rotten hid beneath. Still, they were exhausted. Jared and Amanda took the bed. Bree and Tyler argued before Bree finally took the crusty armchair, and Tyler lay on the floor with his hoodie as a pillow. At 11:53 p.m., Tyler turned off the camcorder. At 12:01 a.m., it began. A scream, not from outside. Inside, high-pitched, not human, not exactly animal either. It rose like it came from the walls themselves. Amanda bolted up. What the hell was that? Another scream, this one closer. The light bulb over the bed exploded. The bathroom door creaked open on its own. Bree gasped, covering her mouth. Was that there before?" she whispered. Amanda's voice trembled. "I don't think it was even shut." Jared grabbed the car keys. But when they opened the door, the hallway outside wasn't the one they had driven into. The motel exterior had changed. No more green doors. No cars. No trees. The ground was cracked concrete, lit by a sick yellow light from a moon that looked too large and too low. Every other door was wide open, but the darkness inside them was thick, unnatural, like shadows that'd wait. "I want to leave. Now." Bree was crying. "I want to go." Jared ran to the car. The tires were gone, literally gone, the rims resting directly on the pavement. Tyler backed away from the nearest open door. "Guys," he said, "there's someone in there." Inside room 5, a woman in a white dress stood silently, her mouth open impossibly wide. No sound came from her, but her face contorted in what could only be described as a scream. And then, from every open door, they came, not running, not crawling, sliding, figures, wrapped in motel sheets, faces obscured, dragging long fingers that left black trails across the walls. They came for room 7. The friends ran back in, locked the door, and the moment they did, silence, total silence. Tyler shoved his camcorder into his bag. "I'm recording everything," he said. "We're not dying here." Amanda stared at the bathroom door. It was closed again, but no one touched it. Then, from behind it, a knock. Not loud, not urgent. Just tap, tap, tap. They didn't answer. Then the knocking stopped. Then came a voice. from the walls, from the ceiling, from under the bed. I see you. I hear you. I scream for you. Bree screamed and clutched her ears. And then her nose started to bleed. Tyler snapped. He flung open the bathroom door and found a spiral staircase leading down into earth. That staircase wasn't there before. "No!" Jared yelled. "We're not going down there." But then the walls began to bulge. Something was pushing through. Faces. Screaming faces. Howling in silence. The only escape? Down. They took the stairs. The further they went, the colder it got. Their breath became visible. Bree collapsed halfway. Her skin had gone gray. Amanda picked her up. Finally, at the bottom, they reached a rusted iron door marked "Exit, but not for free." Tyler pushed it open. They were back, not in the motel, but on the side of the highway, standing beside their car. The tank full, the tires fine, the sun rising. Bree was still unconscious. Amanda sobbing. Tyler's camcorder clutched tight. No one said a word. They got in the car and drove straight to Miami Beach. They never talked about it again, except one day, months later, Amanda called Tyler, screaming. She'd watched the tape, the footage of Room 7, and in it was none of them, just a recording of the room. And in the corner, a screaming woman in white crouched, facing the wall. And every time Amanda paused the video, she turned, she looked, she got closer. If you've made it this far, be honest. Would you have gone into Room 7? Drop your thoughts below. And tell me if you've ever stayed in a motel that felt wrong.